Welcome into the Wednesday early signing day edition of the Oxford Exxon podcast. But recruiting will come a little while today on the MPW Digital Network. Just right off the top, Ole Miss obviously has signed the majority of its class today. Move over, get better in the shot.
Right there.
Okay. But that is not this show today. This show is guest heavy. A couple different shows on this show. However, Neal and Zach Berry will have a soft verbal later in the day.
Yes.
You'll be able to revel in all of the recruiting excitement for today during that show.
I'm going to do it on Zoom. I'm going to do it on Zoom, move it over into eCam, and then play it in YouTube. And I'm probably going to include Kiffin's video as well. So we'll make it a recruiting extravaganza.
There'll be a recruiting bonanza. It will not be on this show. So hang out with us. We'll palate cleanse you. We'll be the opening act for your recruiting coverage today. Lane Kiffin at 3 o'clock. We'll have that at rebelgrove.com. And then today, we're about to call Bo Wallace live in a second, former Ole Miss quarterback, current offensive coordinator at Pearl River Community College. And then following Bo, we will play Neal's interview with Ben Mintz of Barstool Sports as they talk a lot of stuff today. So that is the current show. We appreciate you, Tony, for coming on over from the Rewatchables pod. Bill and Wall Street will be waiting on you when you get back. But we appreciate you hanging out here. So we'll call Bo in a second. But we do, I'll tell you, this is the Oxford Exxon podcast every single day. Lunch specials, $5.69, 2 sides of bread, 32-ounce drink. And get that Speed Pass Plus app. We'll tell you about it every single day. Take advantage because you earn points and save money in the process there with the Oxford Exxon. Again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
Well, Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Just right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. All you got to do is shop it around if you like. That's cool. Corey's not going to care. Or you can do what I've done. What I recommend that you do. It's hop into a Clark Ford today. Corey always says he wants to be a car guy. He wants to be a truck guy. People say, what does that mean? Call the number. You'll start to find out. Build that relationship, and you'll really find out. 662-257-1900. Bo Wallace and Ben Mintz join us today on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. If you're coming into Oxford this weekend, Rafters Music and Food will be open. You can just take a break from your Christmas shopping, watch some football, Ole Miss and LSU in Baton Rouge at 2:30 on Saturday. That game will be on. Other games on, championships, Big Ten Championship, SEC Championship, all sorts of championships, the Sun Belt Championship. There's all sorts of championships, and you can watch them at Rafters Music and Food. Enjoy burgers, po' boys, chicken, drink specials, the whole shooting match right there at Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford and in New Albany as well.
So wasting more time now. Well, let's give us a second. We're going to get Bo Wallace on the horn, and we'll talk to him before we go to Ben Mintz.
Just got to pull up that number. There it is.
Okay.
I won't read it out loud for the people,
which not.
I started to do.
Probably less of a deal now than it would have been about 2014. Probably would have been a much bigger issue 6 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think he would have enjoyed that a few years ago. Here we go.
Hello?
Hey, is this Devontae Kincaid?
Yeah, it is. Oh, my goodness.
Former Ole Miss quarterback Bo Wallace joins us. Bo, you're on with Neal and Chase. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you being with us here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Did you delete a couple drafts of that? I mean, you really made me happy. You gave me a laugh that night when you did that with the quote tweet. I think the message board got a good kick out of it. Did you have to think about whether it was a good idea for a second?
No, not at all. Because I mean, usually, I let people say whatever they want, but when it was that far out of space, I think that I had to kind of take up for myself for a little bit. I didn't really think about it too much. Just kind of shot back at them.
I understand. So you've been, I guess, been a week now at Pearl River? What's the change been like? Was it good just to kind of continue the steps in your process?
Yeah, I think this was just the next step going forward to where I want to be. I've kind of had to go back, kind of the way I played football. It was never easy for me. Kind of had to go to the grassroots of it with getting to where I wanted to get in football and. It's been the same in coaching. Had to coach, 3 years of high school football in Tennessee. enjoyed it, but that wasn't the goal that I wanted to get to. It was to be a college coach, and now, obviously I'm going to work as hard as I can at the place that I'm at. That's what's got me to this point, but definitely have dreams and dreams of calling it at the highest level. So the main thing is just do what I've been doing and come to work every day and work as hard as I can.
I can tell you personally, I've been spending the last 2 weeks trying to break into the coaching ranks, and it is difficult. I've used social media a lot.
I saw that you were going after the ULM job.
Yeah,
so if you get that thing, keep me in mind.
Bo, I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you right now. If I get that thing, you will be my offensive coordinator.
Perfect.
We'll go to Monroe and we'll just make it work.
Yes, sir.
Can you ski?
I cannot ski.
Okay.
I can. Yeah. I've been once in my life. It took me about 2 days.
Okay.
But
Do this
once I was ready to go, I felt like a natural.
When we get in the interview process, Bo, and they ask you if you can ski, just say yes, sir. And we'll learn on our own time.
Gotcha.
You obviously, from your play career, again, have an understanding of this, but how do you kind of put in the system you want to run as a coach? Like when you go back and you get to college and whatever, what sort of imprints is it for, what your offensive system looks like? How does that come about?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is, you start with your first run play that you want to put in and you kind of go from there. A lot of times for us, it's our zone schemes. We go with it first. And then move on to our gap schemes. Now, in the pass game, it's you want to put in your base stuff first. We have some things that are one word calls that kind of tell everybody what to do as far as concepts, and that's kind of where we'll start in the passing game, and then move on to our other things that we like to do.
Are you pitching it around? You trying to be balanced? What's the goal?
No, I definitely believe in running the football.
Okay.
When I do my call sheet before the game, I try to make sure it's as close to 50-50 as possible. Now, with the RPOs and things, if you're calling it 50-50, it'll end up being probably, 60-40, 65-35 pass. But that's just because the RPOs. Now, I saw firsthand kind of how much it helps when you can run the ball and play action and take your shots and things like that. So, I definitely believe in running the football, but we're always going to attach RPOs onto that thing to make sure receivers are catching the ball in space and can do what they do.
How different is it coaching from the high school level to coaching in the junior college level, from a preparation standpoint to the way that you handle your players to all of that? How much of an adjustment is it?
Yeah, it's I don't think it's just a huge adjustment. It's just the time that you have to work on ball, you're not having to be in the classroom and things like that. So, for me, that's definitely a positive because, I'm all about ball. That's why I do it. So definitely moving to college, having more time and, having, I've been around some really, really good high school coaches, but, you wouldn't have as deep of a staff as you do in college. So, that's helpful, especially when you're game planning and things like that. You have certain people looking at specifics in the run game and then certain people looking at specifics in the pass game that you trust and things like that. So it makes it a lot easier when you're setting a game plan.
Today's obviously signing day, especially your second time around out of junior college. Were you just grateful when you finally commit and sign and get that over with? Were you getting inundated with calls there for a while, being coaches, media, whatever? What was that sort of month, 6-week, 8-week period like when you were getting a lot of interest and trying to figure out what you were doing?
I know I drove him crazy.
Well, I know that's kind of what I was thinking. So if it was both of us, it had to be 12 or 15 people total.
Well, I think for me it was just a whirlwind because we played in the national championship. I can't remember what that date was, but I know signing period wasn't far away from that. So, and then also when I first started getting my offers, it was after the national championship. That was when Mississippi State pulled the offer on me, and Baylor and Nebraska and all those teams started coming in. But before that, I really just had like your Conference USA's, your Middle Tennessees, and those type of schools. So when all of those big offers started rolling in, I think I took 3 visits in 3 days. I was at Indiana, and then Mississippi State offered me, and so. Flew there the next day, and then Baylor had offered, so I flew there the next day, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I think when I got back is when I came down and sat with Coach Freeze. And so, that was really 4 visits in 4 days. So, it was pretty crazy at that point.
How much of that in choosing Ole Miss was, about school and whatever, and then also just a decision to reunite with Hugh? I mean, what sort of went into that decision?
Well, the thing for me was, my parents, they, just like any other, parent would, they're like, well, it didn't work out at Arkansas State. Why do you want to go play with this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And so, they had valid points right there. But I felt like for me, I always wanted to play at Ole Miss. Since I was a sophomore in college, and they brought me down on a visit, and then the biggest thing was I knew they needed a quarterback. My biggest thing, I wanted to go play, or at least have a chance to compete to play. Knew they needed a quarterback in the situation they were in, so felt like me coming in, already knowing what we call inside zone and things like that, and how he calls his concepts in the pass game and things. I felt like it definitely gave me a leg up to win that job.
How different of a quarterback would you have been if you hadn't gotten hurt at Tulane that first year?
Man, I try not to think about it, but it definitely changed. Didn't change the way I played, but it definitely changed, just the physical gifts I had. You kind of see the way I threw it around in junior college and, those first couple games at Ole Miss. And then, once the injury happened, at that point it was kind of just fighting through everything. Really had 2 years that I was really, really unhealthy. If we really talked about how many healthy games I played at Ole Miss, it's less than 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely it changed my physical gifts, no doubt. But that's when I had to work with anticipation and timing and making sure I knew what was going on with the defense so that I could anticipate. So it made me a different quarterback. I probably would have been a better quarterback had that stuff not happened, but it definitely made me grow as a student of the game because I had no choice. I had to.
What was that first season like as you guys break the big losing streak and you get some wins and you get to the bowl? Kind of by the Egg Bowl there, you got all those recruits in town who would end up being your teammates a couple months later. But was it obvious to you guys that, hey, we've kind of got to win a few games to build this thing? That hey, they're bringing in a bunch of guys to help us, but there was a little pressure, it seemed like, from the outside looking in to, hey, we want to win now, but at the same time, there's sort of a step in a process that needs to happen right here.
Yeah, I really think 2012 kind of reminds me of Coach Kiffin's first year here. We created excitement with the way we played and won games that or we're in games that maybe we shouldn't have been in. So, that I think that's what Coach Kiffin has done, and that's what Coach Freeze did his first year, was create that excitement to where, those recruits could see how many young guys we were playing in key spots, and, they could see how they could come in and help us. And, luckily that was able to happen.
Where's the ball from after the 14 Bama game? Where's it sitting?
It's in, we have like a little trophy room in my house. And it's all of my stuff is in there, so it's pretty cool to really think back about, and you still have that.
How close did you come to losing that ball?
Oh, I wasn't losing that ball. I think Mississippi State my sophomore year. After it, I threw the ball up in the stands, and then after that, I kind of told myself, if it's a big win, I want to keep that ball. I'm not going to be here forever.
What was the nervous level like when you missed the kick and Bama's driving there in 14? Is it because we're standing there and you don't want to go, hey, we've seen this story before, but as they go down the field, it's
well, I was saying that I was saying we are Ole Miss, right? So yeah, I was definitely nervous. I just knew they were going to go down there and score and kick the extra point, and it was going to be what it was. But I was definitely nervous.
I so appreciate the honest answer. That's like Ben Zobrist. I'm a big Cubs fan, Bo. I don't know if you remember that or not, but Ben Zobrist admitted that when Rajai Davis hit the home run to make it 5-5, he thought, God, maybe there is a jinx. Maybe it's
no
real.
Doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I may have asked you about this before. I don't know if I've ever done it publicly. I think I asked you privately one time. How sick of the whole good Bo, bad Bo thing did you get?
Well, I'm watching other quarterbacks in the SEC, wondering why they're not saying the same thing right now, kind of with the same name. That was definitely something that bothered me. Definitely bothered me. But it is what it is. I kind of saw that the media kind of runs things. Even in 2012, I kind of saw that, whatever they're pushing, that's who the best player is and things like that. When you're really watching the tape and you're seeing what's going on, but if the media gets something that they can run with, that's something that they love to do.
Who started that? Was that Pat Forty that started that with the?
Man, I would love to know.
I think it was him, and he got obnoxious with it. But what I remember about it was, I was one of those guys that on Twitter would fight back against it. Like, what are you talking about? Stop! And people would come at me for fighting back against it. They wanted that narrative, and I was like, man, what are you? I don't even. Yeah. I don't. It was always struck me as really weird. I would get attacked for defending you, and it was like, I'm not defending him. He's just. Because, Chase and I have talked about this before. If you don't sign with Ole Miss, maybe somebody else comes in and does something, but there's no guarantee that they ever get the thing rolling the way that they did. And so I would always be like, this guy's absolutely critical to where this program has gotten. It's an unfair criticism, but man, there were some people in the media that would not let that go.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's probably the biggest compliment I get now is, being the, a very important piece in the thing that got Ole Miss rolling. I would have loved nothing more than, my team to get it kind of rolling, and then, Coach Freeze, come in there with a couple more classes and go win a national championship. And then, we kind of think, we're the one that started that. It didn't happen that way, but that's a huge compliment that I've heard Coach Freeze say and other people around the program that I really appreciate because I didn't get a chance to play in the NFL and things like that. So my college days are very important to me and the impact that I had on the program.
Did it feel like Christmas morning a little bit when you got that 13 class in and you look out there at practice and you do get Laquan and Laramie and those guys when the talent level did take off like it did?
Yeah, the thing about me in 13, I was just off that shoulder surgery in January. Didn't get to throw a ball until late June.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really, man, I was struggling that first fall camp in 2013. The first couple of weeks, just because I hadn't played ball in so long. I'm getting used to a brand new arm. So I didn't even really have time to be like, man, geez, these guys are making plays. And I'll be honest with you, Quan didn't have a great camp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you guys remember, probably just adjusting to the heat and all that kind of stuff. And then when I kind of knew Quan was who he was that first Vanderbilt game. He came out and just lit it up, made a bunch of plays. And, from then on, it was, it was history. He was breaking records and things like that.
You were blessed a pretty good offensive line throughout your tenure. We talk about Pierce Burton maybe right there with you from as far as just a valuable guy that came in to play immediately and whatever. But
sure.
Having Laramie over there, we still kind of laugh about it. You go back and look at his high school tape, and he's making millions of dollars, and he is what he is. What is the extra level of security just knowing that guy's over there? And is it hard to even put in words just how good he was?
Well, I'll tell you what, Laramie gave up one sack when I was there.
Yeah.
He gave up a sack against Auburn, and that wasn't Laramie's fault. The receiver actually ran the wrong route. If he runs the right route, that ball's out. But, he ran, I think it was supposed to be an out-breaking route, and maybe he ran it inside. And so, I had to clutch it, and then that's when I got sacked. So even that sack wasn't really on Laramie. So, that was full confidence. Even calling protections and things like that. If I didn't feel like anything was coming, I'd always slide it to opposite of Laramie because I knew, Laramie, he didn't need help on his one-on-one. You know what I mean? So we try to slide it and fit it up that way and leave Laramie one-on-one.
Does your mind work like that? You just went through some plays and stuff. Do you remember basically everything? If I told you to recall it, what all kind of is up there if I started calling out games and situations?
You would have to ask, and I'd be able to tell you. I can remember the Alabama game, the last play. We're all me, Coach Freeze, and Coach Warner are all kind of going back and forth over what play we want to go with. It was probably about 3 or 4 different plays that we had threw out in the huddle. Once somebody threw out that play call, faking the screen to the outside receiver with Jalen, stalking him and going. That was something that I think everybody kind of agreed with, and that's what we went with.
You didn't like the second down play call though, right? Before that big play.
Oh my goodness! Oh man! I told myself, man, I'm gonna keep my cool this whole game. I'm gonna stay, in my own mind frame. But it was real hard to stay right there. I remember, the play had just ended, and I didn't even wait for the next personnel. I just walked out on the field, kind of showing freeze. We're not doing anything crazy right here. Give me the ball and let's do it.
Yeah, I remember being down the field and I saw that personnel going in. And I said, "Oh my blanking God!"
I didn't mind the personnel. I just the boot off of it with God love him, Liggins. Did a great thing for us all year. But I mean, he runs a boot and he's hanging on to it with one hand, getting tackled. Oh man,
you go back and watch that replay, and the ball security is not sound at that moment. And if that ball hits the ground, it's a different day.
Yeah, no doubt. I definitely kind of freaked out at that moment.
Did you know on the Jalen as soon as it left your hand? I mean, could you see it develop the whole way?
Nah, like when I threw it, I was praying, please get over him. You know what I mean? I think it was Landon Collins. When it first left my hand, I didn't know if it had enough on it to get over him and get back down in the spot. So when it left my hand, I was just thinking, God, please let it get over him, and luckily it did.
What's the one throw you want back from your career?
Man, I threw enough interceptions. I don't have to pick one of them to get back. There's not one just off the top of my. Oh yeah, of course the LSU game. Yeah, of course that one. Yeah, I'd definitely like to take that one back.
What do you feel like happened that night?
That's on me. That's on me. I should have been smart enough. I'm a senior quarterback, and I should have threw that ball out of bounds. But I was sitting on the bench holding hands with guys, and then all of a sudden start hearing my name, Bo, Bo, Bo. I'm thinking I'm thinking we're about to kick the field goal. I don't think what they wanted to happen was relayed great. To me before I walked out on that field. But at the end of the day, that's my fault. I'm a senior quarterback. I got to be smarter than that.
Yeah, and I kind of just meant the whole game. I mean, you guys never just seemed to, kind of got any rhythm. It was just sort of one of those nights where nothing seemed to go right.
The environment that night was wild, too.
Yeah, the environment definitely got to us, but I was very frustrated because we kept running the ball on first down, So I felt like we were only throwing in passing situations to where, they've got those pass rushers and that third down defense, and then you add in the crowd noise. You're not giving me much of a chance out there when you put all those factors in there. So that was frustrating, and I was getting frustrated as the game went on, not taking shots. I thought a couple times there were some posts there that we could have taken. So that was a very frustrating game. I probably didn't play within myself like I should have. Let the calls frustrate me, and then also the environment frustrate me.
What was the party like the night before the Peach Bowl?
I wasn't at that party. Everybody will swear I was, but I wasn't.
I've always kind of wondered what happened that night because I've heard stories, and I've heard enough stories to know there has to be some element of truth to at least part of it.
I mean, let's be honest. After we played Mississippi State, we were kind of emotionally out of it. We emotionally had to get up for that game so much, and then, we go in there, TCU, and I remember first play of the game, we go out on a boot, and I get hit right in the mouth, and I knew right then they were playing at a different speed than we were. And
they were locked in that day. They were probably that day one of the 2 or 3 better teams in the country. They were pissed off. They felt like they belonged in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were pissed off, and we were happy to be there. And that's something that I always take with me when I'm coaching is that experience and making sure that my team's always ready. But yeah, I was definitely not partying the night before. Now 3 nights before, probably, but not the night before.
You referred to that Mississippi State game, which obviously was a huge game for you guys, the perfect way for you to kind of end your Ole Miss career. Really, did you think that week at any point, I'm not going to be? I know you thought to yourself, I'm going to go, but there had to be a part of you that had to think, I don't know that I'm going to be able to go.
Well, yeah, we rehabbed, all that week, and then Wednesday. Tried to take a drop. Couldn't take a drop on Wednesday. So at that point, kind of knew, well, didn't know, but I was worried. You know what I mean? Because I wanted this shot so bad. It was kind of, the thing that happened to me my junior year kind of pushed me all through the summer. I can remember being under the squat rack and just thinking, this is never gonna happen to me again. So definitely wanted that shot at him, but it was either Wednesday or Thursday. After they had shot me up, I still couldn't take a drop, but we go in there on Saturday and get the shot and all that kind of stuff, and just felt like my whole leg was numb. Felt like I was moving on one foot. I mean, obviously the medicine helps, and I was able to go out there and do it.
I give you guys so much credit at that point because, I mean, forget even the Arkansas and you being injured, but just getting back up emotionally after the Auburn game with Quan and everything. I mean, it had to kind of take a lot of fortitude to even kind of get back to football and go, hey, we've got to not just show up, but show up with the energy you guys had in the year.
Well, I think it was huge. We came into the facility and DT stood up in front of the team. What a great leader he is, and talked about how they, after the fumble, they pushed me back in the dirt and all that kind of stuff. And, he really rallied the team that week. And, he knew, he had been there for so long. He knew how important that Egg Bowl win was. And, I credit him, man. He kind of came in there that Sunday and, told us we was going to put that Arkansas game in the past. And, what had happened to us last year. And, the way we had to come up and start getting ready for this game this week.
You and Hugh have a pretty decent relationship, am I right? You guys get along to this day?
Yeah. Yep.
Were you looking back on it when you talked about you had hoped that you were laying the foundation for a championship program, and at the time it looked like you were. When everything unfolded the way that it did, were you surprised? What was kind of your reaction to it?
Yeah, I was so surprised. I think everybody was. Definitely surprised. Never really saw that happening, but like everybody else, he's an imperfect man, and we all make our mistakes. Shoot, I mean, you look at the mistakes I've made in my life. If people hadn't gave me another chance, I'd still be, hopefully, if even the high schools would take me, coaching high school ball and just being out around ball, but. Like I said, we're all imperfect, but yeah, it definitely was a surprise to me.
That mentality of second chances and whatever, like you said, you got one. Does that help a lot at the JUCO level? Because I mean, you are dealing with a lot of guys, whether it be grades or whatever. I mean, it's not talent in a lot of ways. I mean, they're damn good football players out there. I mean, you kind of have to do that at that level a lot, right?
Yeah, I think when we talk to a kid, obviously, you can't always give second chances. It depends on what that kid does, but we're gonna give him every opportunity to change his life. Junior college football changed my life. So that's the thing. Pay it forward, and obviously, like I said, if they make a decision that you can't come back from, you have to cut ties. But I'm a guy that definitely believes in second chances.
You mentioned the Egg Bowl and guys knowing the importance. CJ, the most hyped up teammate for that game. Anybody you dealt with? Maybe Cody. Who is it? Who's
yeah, probably CJ. Just he loved the Egg Bowl. I think that goes back to when he was committed to Mississippi State and things happened in his recruiting and things. But Cody Pruitt, he obviously gets up to that game. He's a psycho, and I love him for it. His energy and the way he prepared for a game, that rubbed off on our defense, and we had a phenomenal defense that year.
Who do you keep in touch with the most, teammate wise? Who you still?
I still keep up with Chief and obviously CJ Hampton. He coaches in the league.
Okay.
But most of us, we've kind of went our separate ways. Obviously, if I see somebody I played with on TV, I'm gonna watch them. I don't really have a favorite NFL team. I just, watch the guys that I played with or Ole Miss guys and kind of root for them, and kind of do it that way.
What you mentioned earlier, aspirations, goals. What is your goal? What's the hope for the future for your coaching career?
The first thing is, like I said, just make sure I'm taking it day by day and not looking too far in the future, but also having those goals. And that the main goal is to call it at the highest level. I want to be able to call it at the Power 5 level, and being a head coach, that's not something that I just I want to do and want to work towards. But I want to call it at the highest level, and then hopefully I do well enough at that people will want me to be a head coach. But the aspirations for that are not there right now. It's just try to work my way up, calling it, and just being the best I am where I'm at.
We appreciate the time, bud. If we can do anything for you, let us know, and let's do it again.
Yes, sir. No doubt. Appreciate it.
See you in Monroe.
Yes, sir.
All right. That was Bo Wallace, former Ole Miss quarterback. One of my favorite guys I ever covered, and a guy I always really respected because
he showed up every week.
He got crap from some people.
Well, I mean, even the Bama writers that came over and basically lied about what he said there.
Well, they didn't basically lie.
He did.
They
lied.
lied.
I mean, he caught a lot of hell.
Because he didn't say that.
No.
I can't remember what it was.
It was something like they tried to do the whole disrespect. It's like, oh, good.
Well, they basically, that he guaranteed a win or whatever, and he didn't.
Hey, we really are trying to win the game. Well, no shit.
Yeah.
Like, thanks.
Yeah.
You would hope that you do every week. That's the goal.
He was pissed, too. And to his
credit,
was
really pissed.
To his credit, he wanted to just not do media anymore, and I think he acknowledged that
it wasn't us.
It wasn't these guys. So... But he would come in after that, and he would see other media, and he'd be like, I don't know who that is.
There was like a body language thing. It was like, I don't recognize that dude.
Or one of us would ask a question, he'd be like, oh, thank God, it's just one of y'all, He was always himself, though, because what I remember about Chad for a while, when Chad decided that he was going to start auditioning for his professional career, he would wear the suits. And he always wanted to go, hey, man, I appreciate the effort, but it's not necessary, and that doesn't fit.
He had like a white one. There was it was all sorts of random weird stuff, too.
And we would screw with him about it. Like, that's a good look,
It's like Miami Vice.
Yeah.
Well, because, you make a good point, though. I mean, we asked Bo about it. Not only was Bo the most important recruit as far as getting to that point, but he's also the reason for Chad Kelly, because it's very possible they don't sign Chad if he doesn't get hurt against Arkansas. They might run that out.
No, I don't think it's possible. I think it's
likely.
I think it's
certain. Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't work.
Oh, it doesn't work.
No. I mean, it just
got to hand Devontae the keys.
No, there's important guys that for that program, and it's Bo and Pierce Burton. In many ways, Houston did leave them a parting gift in Denzel Kimdichie.
No doubt. No doubt.
And then it's
just dudes.
It's
Emmanuel
Mike
McCready
Hilton
showing up.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
some guys. I mean, they were really close. You think back to how close they got in those few years. Got really close.
We like Bo said, we never saw a healthy Bo. I mean, Chad had a different arm level than Bo did, especially what Bo was dealing with at the moment. I mean, Chad elevated. There's no doubt. But I mean that 12 team just kind of operated on guts. I mean, they stayed healthy. They got pretty lucky. The offensive line played with 5 dudes all year. Just seriously, something happened.
The behind the scenes stuff that people would love to know. Zach sent you and me. I'm not going to give the kid's name, but he said asking about a kid, and he said hearing anything. And he goes, never mind. And I said, no idea who that is.
Was last night fun? Did you have a good time last night? Was it enough to get your adrenaline flowing? There's a certain reporter adrenaline. Was there enough there?
It was more irritation than anything else because my phone kept blowing up. So I went to Carson's game.
Yeah.
Carson's game was supposed to start at 5. They moved it to 5:30.
They were supposed to start at 7. Then it was supposed to start at 5.
Yeah, it was supposed to start at 7, then moved to 5, then moved to 5:30. And so I watched his game, and they won 5-1. And he got in the truck, and he was in a really good mood. And those of you who don't have 14-year-old boys can't relate to this, or if you did, sometimes it's hard to have conversations anymore because I'm not cool right now. 5 years ago, I was the coolest person on earth.
Not anymore.
And 10 years from now, I might be cool again. But right now, I'm not particularly cool. And he was in a talkative mood. And so I was like, oh, good, we're going to get to have a conversation. And my phone kept blowing up. And I was at first dismissing it.
And the whole time it was like, we know it's not like it's not happening, but what the hell is it?
Like Jay called and he's like, are you hearing anything? And I'm like, no. But at that point I feel compelled to dig a little bit, and so I kind of dug a little bit, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't get a just, oh, hell no, there's no chance in hell until about 10 o'clock last night. And so you don't assume in this. You just don't. You don't assume. I know the joke, but it makes an ass of you and me, but you don't assume because you can get beat by assuming. You can
completely just disregard it and move on.
Yeah, I mean, you say, okay, well, there's just no way, and then the next day he's on a plane. And, I mean, you can't do that. So I kind of kept working at it, and I think Kiffin's one of these guys that gets a kick out of his name being out there a little bit, almost in a trollish sort of way.
He's kind of said that. Look, it's almost publicity. Hey, like it's just,
yeah, and so
he's definitely, hey, all publicity is good publicity.
So I'm gonna be careful here in case this gets over to Auburn and people hear it. Credit to Jay and a lot of the responsible writers over there for never going anywhere with it because there was nothing to get. The people that ran with it, they absolutely exaggerated it. It was probably for clicks. There was a little nugget of something, and they just kind of built on it and took off with it in large part because I think there are some people over there that are covering that program that are like, oh, my God, are they really going to hire Kevin Steele? And the answer is yes, they are really going to hire Kevin Steele. But there's a power fight right now between two big boosters, and that's led to this forming of this bogus committee and the appearances of, hey, we're going to trick you into thinking that we conducted a big search and we hired the internal candidate. I've seen that happen before. I know how it ends. Now, to Kevin Steele's credit, that's what they did at LSU. It resulted in Ed Orgeron, although at LSU they actually did try to hire other people.
Tom Herman.
They wanted, and Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
They wanted to hire other people. They didn't get it done. And so they ended up doing the internal thing, and it worked big time, at least for 1 year. We'll see what happens down the road. But, look, you can never take 2019 away from Ed Orgeron. He's got a national championship ring. But with Steele, that's who Auburn's going to hire. I don't know what's going on with Cristobal or not going on with Cristobal, but it took me a little while to finally get it to somebody who I considered to be a very good source who said that's not going to happen. You can put that to bed in a manner that made me believe that it was emphatic and that there was nothing to it.
Yeah.
I will say this. And hey, first of all, Webb, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, thanks for the Bo interview. It was great. Really appreciate you. He's top 2 funny recruiting stories from the past. Yeah, we can do those couple in a minute. This Kiffin flirtation thing, if Ole Miss wins, is going to keep happening. So the people that don't like it, this is going to drive you crazy because whether he's here for 1 more year or 5 more years or 10 more years or any number in between, if he's winning, his name's going to come up at all times for a number of reasons. One, he's a really good offensive coach. Number 2, you may have noticed that he gets a lot of media clicks.
Couple.
His name generates clicks.
Yeah.
And if you're working for a clickbait industry,
Lane Kiffin's a name.
As much as I don't like that, I get it. If you're getting paid by the click and the click puts the money on the in the pocket and the food on the table, well, it's pretty easy to list Lane Kiffin's name and see if you can't get a day's worth of clicks out of it. Mm-hmm. I get it. So prepare for it. And when that happens, look, this is a guy that's jumped around once. He did leave Tennessee after 1 year. He did. So you have to look at it and go, okay, well, I gotta watch this. And so you have to, as the guy covering him, dig around on it and see if there's anything to it. And there wasn't, really. On a scale of 1 to 100, it was probably a 2.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's the fit for Auburn right now either, before we make it look like he turned Auburn down or no. Auburn's hiring Kevin Steele. Auburn just needs some coaches to make it look like they're going through a song and dance. The interesting thing at Auburn is that Hugh Freeze wants the job and just cannot get any traction at all. Mm-hmm. None. 0.
Dennis was the only person to even.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah.
So. Again, Zach and Neal will have a soft verbal later today. It'll be a Zoom. It'll be put in and let you guys hang out and watch at the channel as well. So a lot more recruiting coming up from that.
The funniest one was Floyd Raven for me. The Floyd Raven thing was funny. I laughed by the end of it. And then the kid that signed with like 6 schools, that was funny.
It was DJ Law. And
who's coach then? Was it Hugh or was that Matt?
It was Hugh.
It was Hugh.
It was 50.
Because we were in the thing and
well,
he pops up.
I was so confused because he was DJ Law. He was on the sheet for Ole Miss, and we were in the media workroom, and I think it was Kellenberger. He looked over and he goes, "Did you see this?" I was like, "What?" And it was on Twitter, and it's like University of Utah announces DJ Law, and it's like, is there another one?
Because we're in the middle of the press conference.
Yeah. And then you're looking around, and then when you look more. Not only did he sign with those two, he signed with backup JUCOs to both schools.
Yeah.
Like he found the feeder school for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So he signed with East Mississippi or some shit. And then he signs with Butler Community College or something in case he didn't get into Utah. And it was what are you doing? Just picking and choosing? What's the deal there?
So we kind of asked about it, and he was like, "Give me a minute." And he came back in after a few minutes, we were going to let him go. And at that point, I knew, so he has no chance to qualify.
Well. Yeah, he went, hey, it sounds good.
We're moving on.
Whatever. It's all good. He ended up on Last Chance U eventually, I think.
That's what's interesting about today is it's the first signing day in a long time where Ole Miss closed well.
The closing days haven't been good. Since
13.
They really haven't closed well since 13.
I mean, I guess they closed okay in 16.
They didn't bomb in 16, but they already had most of the hay in the barn. Shea had already committed. Had Greg already committed?
Yeah.
A little?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So a lot of the surprises were gone at that point. Even in 13, they didn't get everybody. I mean, they had a good class, but...
Well, no, that's the thing. I mean,
Elijah Daniel didn't come to Ole Miss.
Carl Lawson didn't come to Ole Miss. They lost Peyton Barber. Picked up Jordan Wilkins. Turned out to work out okay.
Yeah, sure. Jordan's a good back.
Yeah, but Peyton Barber was.
Can you still believe Jordan lost a year because of the academic snafu? Looking back.
Yeah.
I know you can, but think about that.
Because if you think back to it, it was a warning sign.
Yeah. That happening is
stuff
amazing.
Like that. Stuff like that happening showed you that there was a lack of focus. There was a lack of attention to
Chris
detail.
Jones, that one too.
Chris Jones was actually a fun one to cover because we went so above and beyond to prove.
We were tracking geolocations off a photo.
Well,
I was calling fraternity members.
But we only did it because people said we were wrong.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, well, we're not wrong. And if you mind your own business, we'll leave this alone. Speaking of today, today was not a good day for some sources. I feel compelled to point that out.
Yeah. Didn't all go well today.
Some of us were right, and some of us weren't.
How big of a warning sign is this for Mike Leach?
Huge. Blaring.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, if you'd like to debate this, we can. I mean,
is Cooper still signing with State?
I don't know.
Begrudgingly, as he's
I don't know.
Kicked and pulled.
Look, he was on the phone this morning, or not him necessarily, but people close to him.
And his camp.
His camp. I want a camp. Can I have a
camp?
Can some of you guys join my camp so I can claim a camp? I don't know. I think he was asking about LSU. I think he was asking about Ole Miss. One of the questions I have for Zach in a little bit. One of the things that's driving me a little crazy at this very moment is that I have a very strong suspicion that all of the NLIs are in and stacked up neatly in the Manning Center, and we're playing
including one that could be a minute.
And we're playing the announcement game, which drives me insane.
Because one's a week.
Yeah, and he literally can't sign in a week.
Is the signing period over by then?
Yeah, the signing period ends on Friday.
Okay.
So, yeah, you have 3 days to sign. So if he signs next week, it doesn't mean anything. Literally, it would be meaningless. It'd be like me signing this notepad and sending it in.
what he wants to do.
So Luke Zettler's in my camp. Sammy's in my camp. Yeah, Ben says Laura's in my camp.
So you're building a village.
I'm just building a camp.
Okay.
I keep reading about so-and-so's camp said,
Tents?
and I'm always like, how's that work?
RVs?
Yeah, I
tents?
mean, how does that work? Or did you go to like a KOA lot? Is it KOA? What's it called?
KOA.
Remember when you were a kid and you go to the campsites?
I mean, I've been camping, but what are you referring to?
Someone can help me out.
KOA? Is that what it's called?
Is it KOA? Sounds right. We used to camp when we were kids because my dad liked to.
I'm not a camper.
It wasn't my thing. But he liked to water ski. So we would go water skiing. So we'd go to camps, and we had a camper and a boat and the whole deal. And I look back on it, and my kids were cheated because I look back on it, it was kind of fun. You know,
really?
All the water skiing and stuff. And I never took my kids water skiing because I worked every weekend covering sports. He's got Team Portnoy, but I want it's KOA. That's right. I want camp. I want to have a camp. I need to have a camp.
KOA.
So that when a decision is made, someone can say, well, I talked to someone in his camp, and they said.
Thank you, Ginger. I can have a camp, too. I appreciate that.
Bo's going to be the president of the Arkansas branch of my camp. See, this is starting to work. Putting this thing together.
Credit to Bo for honesty and actually play it. Like, a lot of guys would not have played with us. You know what I mean? In all honesty, credit to Bo a minute ago.
He's always been that way. I knew he would be, so that's why I could play along.
Yeah.
Bo's great.
A lot of guys go, yeah.
Well, when that stuff happened with AL.com, after that, I think he fully realized that these guys that are covering me are all right. I mean, you know.
Yeah, whatever.
The one Bo Wallace story, I'll save it for maybe my very final podcast. You know which one it is. Where
Which one?
The one after the Texas A&M game, his first year.
Oh,
remember that?
Oh,
yeah. I'll save that one for a final podcast because it was indicative of so many people's character.
You could ask him about it if he thought he made a bad throw there.
I could have.
Decided not to.
I don't know. You know.
Bygones and whatnot.
Well, his answer to one of the questions, if you just listen to
I know.
told me a lot. So
yeah. I understand. Yeah, you guys with the happy birthday thing, you ended up tricking one of my actual friends last night into telling me happy birthday.
Oh, really?
Who had told me happy birthday 15 days before that on my actual birthday. They're like, hey, happy birthday. I'm like, yeah, we had this conversation. It's not. Well, in the thread, I'm like, well, yeah, you can't go on that. That's not a good thing to go on. So anyway.
We probably need to pay some bills here. It's been
I was just going to plug them in later.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, that was my thought process.
Well, I've got a couple here that I need to kind of update.
Okay.
Oxford Park Commission through December the 20th, they're taking registration for their spring soccer program, which is great, by the way. Kids born between 2007 2016. You play out at M-Trade Park. The cost is just $50. They do discounts for multiple players from the same family. So boys and girls do that between now and the 20th, which is Saturday. So you got till Saturday at midnight. Also, with fall upon us, now's a great time to start preparing for the colder weather. It's not cold. It's not fall anymore. It's winter upon us. Get in touch with our friends at Comer Heating and Air. They've got you covered. They're the name you can trust. They bring more than 50 years of professional HVAC experience to Oxford, Tupelo, and the surrounding areas. Make sure to call Comer Heating and Air at 662-801-1777 for all of your cooling and heating needs. That's 662-801-1777. And we're just days away from Christmas. Here's a question for you. Have you finished your holiday shopping? I have. I bet Chase hasn't. I have.
You have?
I have. I'm done. Officially finished.
I thought you were going Christmas Eve.
Nope, I did it earlier this year.
Why?
I don't know.
You're done?
I'm done completely.
No kidding.
100%.
Not at all. None. I mean, no, not none.
I'm kind of jealous. Next year, I'm doing Christmas Eve.
You're jealous that you didn't wait.
Yeah, a little bit. The thrill of, hey, this might not work out.
Get a little
adrenaline
juices going a little bit.
Not this year. This year, I'm just going to pour a mimosa or something. You can do this. You can go to Blue Delta Jeans, and you can go to their website, bluedeltajeans.com. You can have a mimosa and do your shopping. You can stop by the Oxford studio, purchase your loved ones a gift card for a pair of bespoke Mississippi-made jeans. Every gift card for the full value of a jean will receive a signed copy of Wright Thompson's newly released Pappyland. It's the story of Julian Van Winkle III, the third-generation head of a little whiskey brand known as Pappy Van Winkle. Order by noon on December the 22nd. They'll get it to you by Christmas. Also, don't forget that Blue Delta is here for your holiday gifting at work as well. No matter the number of people in your company, give Blue Delta a call. Inquire about bringing Blue Delta jeans to your office for the best holiday gift there is. And you still have time to go to deadsoxy.com. Enter promo code HOLIDAYPRO at checkout. That's HOLIDAYPRO at checkout. You get 35% off your order. We'll have scoreboard business at 12:30 on Saturday as we get ready for Ole Miss and LSU. Hard to believe signing day, and then there's a football game days after. It still feels weird, but kind of like it. That's brought to you by The Rogue. The Rogue is your destination for fine men's clothing. You can go to their website today, get some Christmas shopping done. It's therogue.com. They've got Martin Dingman, Peter Millar, Jack Victor, Halsey, Duckhead, True Grit, so much more. I was in there the other day. It's a great store, lots of selection. Therogue.com. And we're brought to you by Heritage Properties. Heritage Properties, home to 3 communities in Oxford, Faulkner Flats, Cambridge Station, and Lexington Point. They're all multifamily housing. All offer on-site management and maintenance, pet-friendly, and they offer short-term leases. 662-234-4558. And we're brought to you by Meadowbrook Wealth Advisors of Raymond James. Team in Jackson providing planning and investment guidance to clients across the state and surrounding areas. Financial advisors Bill Geary, Logan Phillips, Chris Carrero, and Ryan Geary are partners with a commitment to personalized service. Call them at 601-368-2215. See if they might be a good fit for your financial goals. 601-368-2215. Raymond James and Associates, Incorporated, member New York Stock Exchange, SIPC.
So you'll have Zach. Are we going to go to Ben now? We got more to talk about? What do you want to do?
We go to Ben and then probably give us a chance while that's playing to catch up on a couple of recruiting things that Zach might need a little help on. Then we'll come back. And
how long is this?
It's about 30 minutes.
Okay.
By the way, according to Ole Miss Banker, I'm assuming he's right. I'm not going to fool with it on my site. Markevius Brown just announced for Ole Miss, which was not unexpected. We had the story and the graphics and everything.
It was
ready.
not unexpected at all.
Is it already? Zach already punched it up, probably.
Did he?
I don't know. If not, you need to go into the deal and look.
It's edited and everything?
Oh, yeah, it's all completely ready. He committed to the University of Ole Miss, according to Ole Miss Banker.
Oh, so did
Robert Kimdichie.
Fixate worked out for some in the past.
Yeah, it has.
Brown brings mature approach to secondary.
Yeah.
So you want?
Yeah.
We're barely making headway. I guess we are a little bit.
A little bit. Had he not punched it up yet?
No.
Go ahead and publish that.
You may go ahead and publish it.
If he's committed, I'm going to take Ole Miss Banker's word for it.
Well, I mean, I know he's committed.
Yeah. I mean, they've had the paperwork for hours.
I feel very good about it.
They had the paperwork at 7 a.m. That was the whole MJ Daniels thing today.
Okay.
Not to get distracted.
Yeah.
How you could be hanging into the, oh, no, it's not over. I was like, but
they have the
papers. You have to know that your guys that you're covering don't have the papers.
And it's a bad sign when you don't have the paper.
Well, if you don't have the paper and the other side does have the paper, it doesn't really matter who's talking to who. Right? I mean,
it's kind of the end of it, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like that scene in Bull Durham where Susan Sarandon says, well, do you want me to be with him and call your name or be with you and call his?
It was an easy decision for Nick at some point, right?
You need if you've got the paper, you win.
So is it over for the day? Is that it? No, we still got one more announcement tonight. I'm using air quotes, right?
Yeah.
Isn't
well,
there
no, there's still a couple of things that I'm waiting on.
Okay.
It's one of the things I'm curious about.
All right.
There's a little wide receiver stuff that I'm interested in how
is
that
moving
shakes
a little
out.
bit?
I don't know what's happened. I mean, yeah.
Because never mind. We'll talk about it.
So yesterday I talked to Ben Mintz, who just won the Ole Miss Twitter thingy. He destroyed Eli Manning in the competition. Did you see that?
Barstool is pretty powerful. If you actually get the system behind you, it's hard to. Also, highly doubtful that Eli promoted that. I
know that he did not.
So that also plays a role in it.
So
yeah, that's not true at all.
Someone says Trevin Wallace is still a possibility. Well, Trevin is waiting until the February period. Junior Colson signed with Michigan today. He was one that Ole Miss wanted, but they were not successful.
Trevin is waiting, and then Ole Miss is obviously their big fish for February is Tywan Malone.
Yeah. So I talked to Ben Mintz. Here's that interview. Hope you enjoy. We'll be back with a little bit more when this is concluded. Hang with us, enjoy, and we'll be in the chat with you as well. Ben Mintz, kind enough to rejoin us here on another edition of the Oxford Exxon podcast. We'll replay this also on Saturday before Ole Miss and LSU, Tiger Stadium at 2:30. So you'll get to see this a couple of times. First of all, Ben, thanks for being with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I got to say, this is one of my favorite weeks of the year always with my Louisiana ties. In the last 20 Ole Miss LSU games, this is going to be the 17th out of 20 that I've made. This is my favorite weekend of the year, and man, I just really can't believe how well it worked out with it moving back to the 5th to 19th because I'm going to come back south early from New York, and so I can make the game on Saturday. And also, I'm going to be on ESPN Baton Rouge a lot for Rebels down there doing some coverage.
Tell you what, it looks like you're beating up one of the big nor'easter that's headed that way. They got some nasty weather heading up to that area, everything I've seen.
Yeah, I hope I beat it. My flight's Thursday morning, so I'm a little concerned right now. But I really hope I make it down there because I don't want to miss this game. It's going to be, what a wild football game we got. LSU opened as a 1.5-point favorite. I think the over-under's in the mid-70s. After what happened in Florida last week, setting the stage for it, it's like an old-school rivalry game where I feel like it could be wild and anything could happen.
Let's talk about the game some because I'm like you. I thought LSU would go to Gainesville and just kind of get steamrolled, and it didn't happen. Instead, LSU showed up. Florida kind of didn't. It was a crazy game, and then the fog rolled in, and it got goofy, and we were kind of due a goofy game because 2 or 3, I tell you, you'll laugh because I don't pay a lot of attention to some of the national writers, especially the ones who hate their jobs and hate football, and they're like, oh, it's going to be a terrible day. We just need to get to the end and all of that. I'm like, okay, something goofy's happening today because they've almost tempted the football gods, and then there it happened, and I was like, well, here we go. We were kind of due something nutty, and there it is.
Yeah, and Joey Galloway, a lot of the LSU fans that I'm friends with were going really hard. Joey Galloway, before the game, was on with Jesse Palmer on ESPN, and Joey Galloway just started openly laughing and mocking LSU when they talked about picking the game. And, man, that's why they play the games, and it's crazy what happens in rivalry games in sports. You see this every year. Florida's a 23.5-point favorite, but I want to kind of harp on what you said. Dan Mullen was really weird about the whole thing. Held Kyle Pitts out when he was healthy. The announcers on ESPN referred to the broadcast. They talked to Mullen during the week, and Mullen was saying, oh, we could lose this and beat Bama and be the SEC champion and make the playoffs, and they were like, no, you can't. No. They're like, what are you thinking? And it's just so weird that he went in with that approach. And, I know LSU's down, but, man, that's a heated rivalry game every year. I was surprised.
Yeah, you're right. It's one of those that people don't think about a lot because, Florida's in the East and LSU's in the West and blah, blah, blah. But those two teams don't like each other at all. And they kind of have they've had this weird thing that goes back to the hurricane and people accusing people of ducking and all that stuff. And it just kind of goes on. And I didn't know. Like I said, I thought LSU was toast because
I did too. I had Florida. I was way wrong about that game. I'm not going to even act like I saw that coming.
But man, oh man, that was a big loss for Florida. I just don't think some people even fully grasp how big it was because listen, the assumption is that Alabama is going to steamroll Florida, and I think they will. I'll ask you about that in a minute, but I think they will. But all you had to do was beat LSU. You beat them by 1 point, whatever it was. And you were going to get that national quarterfinal game, which is what it would have been, against Alabama, where you just got to beat Alabama one time on one day. You don't have to surpass them as a program or any of that stuff. You eliminate that chance by losing to LSU. It's beyond me that they were as dialed out as they were. And you compare them to like what Alabama looked like against Arkansas, where Alabama was completely dialed in, took care of business, knocked that out, moved on. It just shows you the gap between Alabama and, frankly, everyone else right now.
Yeah, and then even inside the Florida LSU game, the thing that blew my mind was Micah Baskerville, LSU's best linebacker, didn't travel to Gainesville. Derek Stingley, All-American corner, gets considered out before the game. Then Cordell Flott, their number 2 corner, got ejected for targeting in the middle of the first quarter. Who the heck are out there at DB other than Elias Ricks, the 5-star? And they stop Kyle Trask for the most part, and he throws multiple picks and ruins the Heisman against all their backup DBs. To me, it was shocking.
So let's talk about Ole Miss and LSU from a betting standpoint. The line is like, it's basically a pick. It's Ole Miss +1 as we record this. It's been as high as 2, but it's in that range. It appears to have solidified around 1.5 points. I like Ole Miss in this game, and I don't know whether that's just the bias of seeing them every week and seeing this offense, but I think Ole Miss is going to score a lot of points against LSU, and a part of me thinks that LSU just went ahead and forgive me here, kind of shot their wad and got it out of the way. And there's not, I don't know, maybe this is the week that LSU's not dialed in. I don't know.
Well, there are a lot of different dynamics in this game to break down. First of all, I like that Ole Miss is an underdog. I know it technically shouldn't matter, but historically, Ole Miss doesn't do well when their expectations and a favorite on the road in spots like this. That's just not – Ole Miss to me is a great, wild, fun underdog, so I'm glad we're an underdog in this game. Hoping the weather doesn't become a factor. I've been hearing there could be bad weather on Saturday. I don't think that benefits Ole Miss at all with their spread offense if it's muddy in Tiger Stadium. It slows it down a little bit. But look at it. Also, an Ole Miss factor is the COVID thing. I mean, we just hadn't played in 21 days. Had a lot of guys out with COVID dealing with it. You know, will the offense come out in a rhythm, or is that going to take some time to find themselves in the game? I thought Max Johnson for LSU was just night and day better than TJ Finley, to the point where I don't understand how he wasn't out there 5 weeks ago. I mean, he's a coach's son. I know he's young as a freshman, but he's a guy that's not going to kill you throwing interceptions and making tons of mistakes. I think it could be a wild, fun rivalry game. I feel good about Ole Miss as well. But, man, to me, it's a 4-4 team in Ole Miss against a 4-5 team in LSU, where you would say nothing's on the line, but everything's on the line. This is so important for Ole Miss. If Ole Miss can beat State and beat LSU in their 2 rivalry games to keep momentum going into the offseason, I couldn't be more excited for it.
From a betting standpoint, you like Ole Miss here?
I lean Ole Miss slightly, but I mean, I'm going to make sure the weather report's not bad. I really, if it's muddy and becomes a thunderstorm game, I think that drastically affects how Ole Miss likes to play. It becomes more of a game in the trenches and a little bit of a sloppier game, and I just don't think that benefits Ole Miss. So if we're a slight underdog on Saturday and the weather's good, I'm going to probably end up taking us.
Yeah, he's not he doesn't have the program to that spot yet. He's trying to get it there, but they're not there yet. Curious to get your thoughts on what's happened at Auburn. By the time people hear this, they might have made a decision. I wasn't surprised about Gus Malzahn getting let go, but what are you hearing from some of your national circles about what direction the Tigers are going?
I mean, I wasn't surprised that Malzahn got let go either, but I will be surprised if they really promote Kevin Steele, which I know that's a little bit of a rumor right now. I just can't see it. You can't Mullen out of Malzahn out of a $21 million buyout to promote your defensive coordinator. I don't see that. The name I keep hearing from my sources is Mario Cristobal, which, I mean, you know, he worked at Bama under Saban. He's a heck of a recruiter and program builder. I think he's doing good at Oregon, but still surprising, to be honest. And I feel like Hugh Freeze is holding out for the Tennessee job. I really do. He always wanted the Tennessee job. He talked about that the early part of his career, that was kind of his dream job.
But Ben, there's no way Hugh Freeze would not
take Auburn.
No chance. 0% chance.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably – well, actually, that's 100% true as well, especially coming back from how hard he fell and working up through Liberty. But I don't think Auburn's going with Freeze. I'm also curious about Billy Napier and this whole thing because, you know, we're talking about a guy that turned down Mississippi State last year and said no to South Carolina already. And so to make those big of moves, being at UL Lafayette, and ULL's had a great year but also a very senior-laden team, this is the exit point for him. And so I look for his name as well.
What do you think's happening with him? Because, see, I heard with South Carolina that he was in that he wanted that job, that he took his name out. He took his name out when he found out he wasn't getting it. I mean, he did what I'm going to do when I find out that I'm not getting the ULM job. I'm going to take my action. I mean, by the way, Ben, I got to tell you, I got a bone to pick with you a little bit. I mean, you've got all these North Louisiana ties. Okay. And, you're from Monroe. And you've made it big on the big national stage, and now you know everybody, and you've got your after dinner mints, and you've got your walk to work every morning, your wake up call. At no point have you even just come out and publicly supported my candidacy to be the next head coach at ULM?
You know what? But I'll rectify that because I do like to support ULM. I grew up going to games there. I'm good friends with Nick White, who's the voice of ULM. We'll make that right. I think we can handle that.
Candidacy deserves traction. That's what it deserves. It deserves traction.
I'm all for it. Look, anything to bring some change to Monroe and help that program, I'm all for. I love the passion.
I'm undefeated as a college football coach. Never lost a game.
There you go.
I think I deserve the gig. So what's this been like for you in New York? You've been about a month. You're kind of starting to. It looks like you're kind of finding your rhythm. You're sort of finding your identity. When we last talked, you were just kind of still probably in the seat on fire stage of the job. You just gotten it. You were just kind of, woo, here we go, and you've had a little chance to catch your breath. It looks like you've started to kind of find your niche and your role a little bit.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I can't say enough. It's just such a fascinating company to work for, Barstool Sports. The way, I've worked in some other media companies and stuff, and just the way they promote creativity here. They literally put no hamstrings on. They're just like, whatever content you want to create, go for it, do it. And I feel like a lot of other jobs I've had, and I'm not going to, name any names or anything, but, it's like the opposite of that, where the management is like, well, this is what you can do. We're constantly worried about image or whatever, and they try to hamstring their talent. And here they're just like, here's our platform, go do it. And I try to, I'm trying to take advantage of that every day. And I'm part of Pick Central, which is 11 to noon on Sirius Channel 85 every day. And then I've been going on podcasts and doing trivia and doing videos. And you never know what you're going to get into daily here. But it's been the right decision to come up here and be a part of this office because it's just really all about building relationships here. And it's just such a unique situation. New York right now is different during COVID. A lot's been made of indoor dining getting shut down a couple of days ago, which I think is obviously very, very sad for all these small businesses.
Oh,
it's terrible. No, it's terrible. And Dave Portnoy, I don't know if you saw Dave Portnoy went in with Marcus Simonis, the CEO, both doing $500,000 for New York City restaurant relief. They're trying to promote that. But it's kind of weird being in New York. The weather's cold. I just come to work every day and go home. And I'm trying to exercise every day to not blow up and gain any of this weight back from this year. But I kind of have a simple life here in a way because it's just going to be shut down here until March or April. And then it's going to be a long, slow build back. But I think, once the weather gets a little better in springtime and the vaccine gets out some, I think we'll slowly start to see people doing stuff. What I'm excited about now, though, I can't wait to come back south. I'm flying back south on Thursday the 17th. I'll be in the South till January 3rd or 4th, and I'm going to be all over Louisiana and Mississippi. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff for ESPN Baton Rouge on Friday and Saturday and Thursday because I used to work there this year. And going to the Ole Miss LSU game. I'm going to the Saints-Chiefs game in New Orleans on Sunday. The fine people were Burge really came through big for me. And then I'm actually doing a show at Ameristar Vicksburg, Mississippi at the Sportsbook on Monday with Sean Fox, our old North Louisiana friend. And then I'll be in Oxford for a couple of days. I'm going to go see Ole Miss UT Martin. And I think I'm going to go to the Independence. I got a huge trip, basically. There's a lot to it. I'm going to go to the Independence Bowl and go see Army play. And I'm just excited. It's going to be my first time coming back to the Deep South since all this. And it's going to be great to see a lot of family and friends.
For you personally, this Ole Miss LSU thing has got to be cool on every single level, right? Because, you've got all the Ole Miss ties, and then you spent really your developmental years, what gave you the break that you have now, happened in Louisiana. And so you've got all the ties that you've got there. You talked about this game being a lot of fun. Beyond the football game, just the you have so many friends in both fan bases with both schools. How cool is that part?
It's so I really it's so special to me. It's one of my most my favorite weekends of the year. And then I look back at the journey that I've been on. Obviously, there's a lot of animosity between the Ole Miss and LSU fan bases, it being an Old South rivalry. But man, I was treated so well in Baton Rouge by the LSU fans. And for 4 years, I did radio in Shreveport and Baton Rouge. Man, I'm by no means, I'm an Ole Miss fan first, and I always will be, but I've been treated incredibly well by the people at ESPN 104.5 Baton Rouge, and getting to go back there and do radio. And I want to mention T-Bob Hebert's name because he's been so important in my career. We're doing a little Christmas deal Thursday night, and it's just full circle, Neal, because you look at the year I've had. I did Shreveport for 3 months, Oxford 3 months, Baton Rouge 3 months, New York 3 months. Oxford and Baton Rouge have been such a part of it, and to get to end it with Ole Miss LSU, it's like full circle. It's crazy how full circle the whole journey's been. And I mean, I'm almost like emotional a little bit talking about it. It's been so special.
It is a cool game. I've always, this is my 13th year on the Ole Miss beat. And a lot of this is, I have Louisiana roots too. I grew up there in Ruston and stuff. And so this game's always, I didn't grow up an LSU fan, but I grew up, LSU has always had a mystique to me. It's because growing up in the state the way it is. And I grew up an Alabama fan, actually, because both of my parents have degrees from Alabama. So I would watch LSU and Alabama and all those games and all that stuff. Anyway, I love Tiger Stadium. I love everything about it. It's cool. And it's a fun rivalry. The two uniforms look so good next to each other and all the different things. What is it about the rivalry that you've always liked?
It's got so much history to it, but the thing about a rivalry is both teams have to win. And right now, the last time Ole Miss beat LSU was 2015 in Oxford when Ole Miss won 38-17. I had just graduated and hadn't even started doing radio in Shreveport the last time Ole Miss won this game. And I think Ole Miss LSU can be great again. Kiffin and Orgeron have tons of ties go back. I think that could be a lot of fun. Obviously, not working out at Ole Miss. Telling Kiffin not to take the Ole Miss job, which a lot's been made of in the media. But if Ole Miss LSU is going to be really fun again, Ole Miss has to win this one. Has to. First time it's about a pick-em game in a long, long time, and you can't let LSU off the hook right now when you got a standing 8 count on them. If this is going to become a real rivalry again, Ole Miss has got to win on Saturday. And, I'm not saying they have to win 50% of the games, but they need to start winning 2 out of 5 for it to be fun again.
Is there an Ole Miss LSU game that sticks out in your mind?
Oh, man, I got so many of them. The first one, so it started in 2000. That was my senior year of high school. I remember that was the end of the Deuce era when LSU. I'm good friends with Josh Booty. He started for LSU, and they won 20-10. 01, I've got a funny story I want to share here about a wild night in Death Valley. So this is my freshman year of college. It was Ole Miss 1. It was Eli's sophomore year. Right before the half, Ole Miss blocked a punt and ran it back for a touchdown. And I had a drink in my hand, like a big stadium cup. And I was like almost at the top of Death Valley, and I hold it up like cheering, and my buddy on my right smokes my right elbow, and this drink, it's like a 32-ouncer, just goes all over like 3 rows of LSU fans in front of me, and I didn't think I was going to get out of there alive. I mean, it was not pleasant. That was really rough. Obviously, 03, the famous game where Doug Buckles stepped on Eli's foot at the end. But the real shame of that was Jonathan Nichols won the Lou Groza Award that year, and he missed 3 field goals in that game. I remember I didn't leave the ATO house till Wednesday. I was so upset after that game, wanting to see Ole Miss win an SEC championship. Some other ones I remember there was a run of games where Ole Miss would be like a 28-point underdog and almost win. We lost multiple ones in OT down in Baton Rouge. Those kind of all run together a little bit. I remember Odell Beckham in 12 and he reversed fields on the punt return. I remember that one really well. And I guess the Les Miles clock management one in 09 when Ole Miss won. There's so many that have been so great. And I love the 2015 one when Ole Miss blew them out. Jevin Sneed in 08. I mean, obviously I'm going. There's been so many of them. But I've been to 17 out of 20. The only ones I missed, I knew not to go in 2011 when LSU kneeled on our 5-yard line with 4 minutes left. I knew there was no hope. And then I didn't go last year because I went to my buddy's cancer fundraiser, and I missed 2016. That's it.
Yeah, it's a cool rivalry. I remember I was in Mobile. It was my first year covering the SEC as a whole. I'd gotten promoted off the Auburn beat. And so that Saturday, it was Iron Bowl Saturday. And here I am, an Alabama columnist covering Ole Miss LSU. And I had a radio show in Mobile, and my radio show boss, who was not my primary boss, was pissed off that I had to be in Oxford. I mean, he was pissed, just throwing a fit about, you're not at Alabama, you're not at because I think the game was in Tuscaloosa, and your ass needs to be in Tuscaloosa and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, the people that are paying for my ass to be someplace want it in Oxford because they want me to write this huge Eli Manning story, this huge David Cutcliffe thing. LSU, we covered LSU a lot that year. They ended up winning the national title, so there was a lot of stuff. But I remember that game. Isn't it funny? I can't remember the kid's name, the defensive back for Ole Miss that had the pick six early.
Travis Johnson at the beginning of it. Yeah, I remember I was in the student section, and that was the wildest I've ever seen in Ole Miss Stadium when he got the pick six early. I thought I was in Death Valley on a crazy Saturday night. I've never seen anything like it in Oxford.
The only time that I can ever remember the Vaught Hemingway press box feeling like it shook.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was crazy. I was like, whoa, this place is different. It's up for grabs. And I can remember being down on the field at the end of that game, the 4th and 10. So much is made of Eli stepping on Doug Buckle's foot, but it was 4th and 10.
And also it shouldn't have gone under center on 4th and 10 either. I thought that was never really mentioned. Why aren't you in shotgun in that spot?
You know,
but I think the Nichols missed field goals were honestly more the real issue looking back.
I do remember thinking at that moment, boy, they might not ever get this close again. And to this point, that's as close as they've ever been, where the game was right. A spot in Atlanta was right there in your hands. And it's funny. It's the first time in a while that with Lane Kiffin there, look, Ole Miss is a long way from that right now, but it feels like they're on that path for the first time in a while, back to a spot where you'll be playing for those kinds of things. It feels like Kiffin's getting them there fairly quickly.
And just also, I know y'all are covering the recruiting like crazy, and y'all do such a good job of it. With National Signing Day, the early one being tomorrow, Ole Miss starting winning a lot of these recruiting battles in living rooms at the end. You start, Ole Miss is going to end up in the top 20 class after, people were making fun of it, saying they're in the 50s and 60s all year. That's when you know you're building something, when you start getting all that kind of talent.
Right.
And all of a sudden the brand's on fire. I mean, who don't want to come play for this Kiffin exciting offense? Oxford has a ton of stuff to offer. And then on the defensive side, I mean, look, if I was a 3 or 4 star high school senior, I mean, Ole Miss is fun. You play in the SEC, you got a chance to come in and play immediately. I think we got a lot to sell right now.
So you got Chiefs and Saints on Sunday, which some people think it's a preview of a Super Bowl. I'll ask it there. Do you think you're watching the advance to the Super Bowl, or do you think New Orleans is going to have a hard time getting there?
Well, look, I'm curious still about the Drew Brees or Taysom Hill thing this week, because I thought Brees was going to come back this week, but right now, as of Tuesday, we don't know yet. But I still look, I know the Saints lost in Philly last week, but you're still talking about a team that won 9 games in a row and went 3-1 without Drew Brees. This is pro football. People lose games.
Right.
You can't. And Jalen Hurts came in. He provided a spark to Philly with his mobility and just a new energy that I hadn't seen out of them. But the Saints just dug too big a hole in the first half, period, in pro football. I still think the Saints have a good chance, but they're not – it's going to be – I don't see them catching Green Bay for the 1 seed because Green Bay having that tiebreaker. But it feels like anything can happen in the NFC playoffs. You look at Green Bay, the Saints, the way the Rams are playing, I still wouldn't count out even Brady and the Bucs or the Seahawks. I think it's pretty wide open. But the defensive line against KC is going to have to win the battle at the line of scrimmage, which is something the Saints have done all year. Because if Mahomes has a lot of time, I can guarantee you Tyreek Hill will not be running slow on that Superdome turf. And so it's going to be all about getting as much heat on Mahomes as quickly as possible. But I think the Saints have a lot better chance on Sunday than people are giving them credit for. People are overreacting to this Philly loss, especially when you look at how dominant the Saints' defensive front's been. And I think they've got a good shot to make it back. If Brees doesn't come back this week, I think he'll come back maybe Christmas against the Vikings. But, I mean, it's kind of storybook, Can Brees make that one last glory run on the way out like Peyton Manning got lucky and did? And I really want to see it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the great people of Penn Gaming and LaBerge on here. I didn't think I was going to go to Saints Chiefs with LaToya, who another person that doesn't like small businesses, the Nola Mayer. She yanked it to 3,000 fans on Sunday, and so I was like, well, I'm probably not going to make the Saints game. And then LaBerge calls me, and I'm getting to sit in the suite on Saturday in Death Valley and Sunday in the Superdome. And I just kind of realized when they gave me that call, I was like, man, this Barstool thing's a whole different deal than anything I've ever been a part of before.
Oh, no doubt. You guys are just tearing it up. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch the way that brand gets built. And it's funny, people jump me sometimes over my willingness to express a political view that does not jive with my fields as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, look, the one thing you have to be in this is be genuine, be who you are. And that's what Barstool does. And I give them a ton of credit. I'll say this here. I know that it's a competitor and it's a rival, but it's the credit I give Clay Travis day in and day out. He's who he is, and that's his brand and that's his product. And you can like it and consume it, or you can dislike it and not consume it. It's up to you, and that's what I like about what Barstool does.
I like what you're saying there too, because I think you see this in media. People that have these like personas and stuff that aren't real, it might work for 2 or 3 or 5 years even, but it never sustains long term. I mean, I think the people that make it long term are the people that are real and genuine. And I have the utmost respect for anybody that owns it too, because I mean, I notoriously stay away from a lot of the political stuff just to not even get involved. But I respect anybody that's willing to stand their ground, especially in this cancel culture we're living in right now.
Yeah, it's nuts. I don't like it. I just beat. It's all good. That's what I always tell people is when they get antsy about something like on Twitter or whatever, I'm like, look, just don't. You can unfollow me, and it's all good. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm not going to know. I mean, I'm not that guy that checks my followers and stuff each day. And I know there are people that do that, but I'm not one of them. I was going to ask you, Chase wanted me to talk to you about the World Series of Poker.
Come on with it.
Which is going on right now. And I was like, well, really, what do you want me to ask? And he had a great question. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, that's a great question. So you participated in the World Series of Poker. You're a vet. When you sit at that table for 18 hours in a day, and only about 7% of the time you're actually engaged in a hand, how do you stay focused? How do you stay locked in? What do you do to pass the time? What do you do about not cramping, just sitting there all day? How do you decide what you eat, what you drink, when you go to the bathroom, all of those types of things? How do you do that?
Well, okay, first of all, it's not as bad as it seems, because the way tournament poker works, you get a break every 2 or 3 levels, a 15-minute break. And so you're usually sitting at the table for an hour and a half to 2 hours at a time, and then you get a 15-minute break. So that kind of knocks out the bathroom problem. And it's when you get restless, you can go walk around outside or stretch or whatever. Some of the stuff I found that I kind of discussed on the last time I came on here was just the thing about maturing and learning from mistakes. Now when I approach poker, I'm just so much more professional, just like not – the no alcohol thing keeps my mind clear. I try to exercise. Like if I have a poker tournament, I'm trying to do 30 minutes or 45 minutes on the treadmill that morning, because I feel like that, I know you exercise a lot. That helps your mindset so much to think clearly. And then also if I'm playing a live poker tournament, I try to eat healthy. If you eat a po' boy and you got to go sit and play poker for 9 or 10 hours, you're not going to have energy and you're going to feel sluggish and lethargic. So, I think as I get older, those little things about just doing stuff right, I know it's all cliche, but it all matters. Everything matters. And as I'm getting older, in my late 30s, I think I still have got a lot left in my poker career just because I'm living a lot better. And I think that's going to be reflected at the table. And I think live poker is going to come back pretty strong. We'll see if it's how soon in 2021. But I'm going to be traveling and doing a lot of that because I think that's one of the things that I bring to Barstool with unique content. I'm going to do videos from the poker road, travel around. I mean, it'll be so fun. I mean, all the Ole Miss fans support me in the World Series of Poker. How can I ask for anything more?
Yeah, even me, as someone who doesn't play poker and doesn't really watch much of it, I am fascinated by some of the backstory behind it. Here's one of the things I've always wondered. You obviously, a big part of poker is reading tells on people, reading people. Does that help you in everyday life, looking at a normal person in a conversation as to whether they're buying what you're saying, whether they are a little awkward, whether they're engaged, all of those kind of things? Does your poker background help you get a feel for people?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't been asked that in a while, but I would say it definitely does. I think one direct example of the poker background helping me has been with Barstool, where people have asked me, like, how nervous are you dealing with this? Because it's a national thing. And I promise, this is crazy to say, I hadn't been nervous once. And that comes from the 2011 World Series main event. When I ran that bluff I told y'all about against Patrick Antonio, it's like when you get to that point on the highest level and you're not afraid and there's no fear, that factors in everyday life, and I think that actually has influenced my media presence a lot is because the lack of fear. But I know what you mean, and the fact that one thing in poker, I'll say, people are bluffing when they act real quick. Like a lot of times if they bet super quick and they don't think it out, then that to me is kind of something that I look for a lot. I think people act quick when they're uncomfortable. And then you can kind of tell one other thing in life. When people are afraid to look you in the eye, they might not be telling you the truth, and people give you the kind of look down as they say something that they're not comfortable with. And I think that's kind of a poker carryover too.
Yeah, man, you have clearly no fear. I mean, I can see that. You have no fear of this stage at all. It's It's a cool thing. And the truth is, whether you're in New York or Shreveport, on camera is on camera, radio is radio. At the end of the day, you're producing content, and that content, it's either good or it's not good.
I'll say this, and I'll share this with Ole Miss fans. I have a lot more confidence in myself since I lost 30, 40 pounds this year. Because when you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, that affects you. And you can sugarcoat it however you want. You can block it out. I mean, I used to be, big overweight guy. Yeah, I had a lot of poker money, but I would pretend these problems didn't exist kind of. And now, since I've gotten healthier and, I still need to lose 40 pounds. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a finished product, but just being in decent shape and, I think that radiates out of me on camera. And I think that's the biggest game changer this year is that, I used to do radio, but I wasn't on the videos and stuff. But now, I'm more confident in my appearance. And I really think that it's a really important thing.
Yeah, you're right. Because I sit here all day long and talk to people and do things, and we stream everything. And I'm always looking at myself all the time. And every once in a while I do this. I'm looking at the.
Oh yeah, no, mine's is a little. I still got this New York food up here. Working for a Barstool. Dave Portnoy's whole brand is pizza. It's never-ending world-class pizza in this office. It never stops, and it's tough. It just never stops.
In all seriousness, how do you avoid hey, I'll just have a piece here, I'll have a piece there, and before you know it, you've had 6 meals in a day. I mean, how do you avoid doing that?
Well, I'm not the best at it. What I'm trying to do right now is with the holidays, I'm just trying to make sure I exercise 6 days a week, whether I lift weights or jog. And, I can't say that I was eating so healthy for 5 or 6 months this year. And it's kind of been on and off since I've been here the last month and a half. But, the combo of the exercise and the no alcohol, as long as I'm moderated, I don't think I'll blow up too much. But but it's tough. The New York bagels too, man. The lock smoked salmon bagel is a big New York thing, and we constantly have those around. Definitely need to probably not eat those carbs. But I think as long as I make the exercise a big priority, I'll be all right.
Well, hey, I hope you really enjoy your trip to Louisiana, your holidays. God knows you have a lot to be excited about and celebrate this year. And I've watched from afar. I've enjoyed getting to know you and communicating with you, and couldn't be happier for your success. And it's awesome. I hope you have a great trip to Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And when you're in Oxford, hopefully we can say hello.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be in Oxford December 22nd, 23rd when it's low key, but I'm going to the Ole Miss UT Martin Tuesday, 4:00 matinee. I've been holding out on getting a haircut with my old friend Jennifer Lasky in Oxford. I've been going to her for 20 years, so I'm waiting. Kind of been holding out on that. One thing I do want to mention, if you get a chance, check out the After Dinner Mint shirts that have come out. It's pinned on my Twitter at Barstool Mintzy. I made them red with a little powder blue for Ole Miss colors. I tried to get it in powder blue, and it wasn't available in the store. And also, I know a ton of people won't be making the Baton Rouge trip this week because of COVID. But if you do, I'm going to be all over 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, giving kind of an Ole Miss perspective on the LSU game coverage. And, Neal, thank you so much for having me on. I want to wish Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all the Ole Miss fans. And also just can't reiterate enough, the support I'm getting from Oxford and Ole Miss is mind-blowing. I mean, I haven't heard one negative thing on feedback from anybody, and I can't say enough how much I appreciate that.
Well, that's awesome. You deserve it. Really appreciate the time. And, again, safe travels. Hope you get out of there in time, and hope you enjoy your weekend, and look forward to seeing you next week in Oxford.
Absolutely. Keep up the good content. Y'all are doing a great job.
Thank you, Ben. That was Ben Mintz, Barstool Sports. Good dude. Happy for his success. That's a cool thing.
Oh, he's awesome. So I'm glad you did that. Glad to put him with Bo today. Made for quite the good show all the way around.
So we're gonna have a soft verbal a little later.
Yeah.
Markevius Brown's to Ole Miss. Braylon Brown has signed with Ole Miss. I believe it's me. I'll do this, and so. I think Young, is it Byron Young, the defensive lineman? I think he has signed. He's waiting to do an announcement next week because it's his mom's birthday and stuff like that. And I'm not belittling that, but the period ends on Friday, so he can't wait till next week to sign. Deion Smith signed with LSU. I know that's been out. I'm told Ty Cooper
hasn't done anything that I'm aware of.
Told he's not signing, is going to wait until February. So today – that's what leads me to believe that Ole Miss got young because I don't think they were taking them both.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Sure.
So I'm putting myself out there. Zach is still a little newer at this. I think Zach he likes to wait for the kid to be official, and he doesn't want to steal the kid's moment and all that. And
He's going to let him have it.
I'm fine with the kid having his moment to a certain level.
Past the signing period, though, appears to be past the point of playing along.
Yeah, 2:30 on National Signing Day is past that point.
You get the morning.
Yeah, I'll play along until about 1 in the afternoon, and then I'm like, come on. Because the paperwork's in, and you know it.
Kind of last thing, Lane's been quite busy on Twitter today. He's having a good social media day, pointing out lots of flips and lots of previous commitments and stuffing Elijah Drinkwitz in a locker and going about his business. So,
that was the one. Whew.
Well, look, Drinkwitz's shirt was stupid. It wasn't original, and then trying to get people to ask you about it, it's just so forced. I mean, I wrote this, and Drinkwitz has done a good job. He's done a really good job as a football coach this year. He is a good football coach. But there's a concern when you stop being who you are. He is trying to play a character. He's not the same personality type that he's been for the rest of his career.
Yep.
And I think I get where it comes from. I think he's trying to create buzz or something at a place that gets forgotten a lot in the league. But if it's not you, it's going to come off as forced and fake and make you look a little stupid, and that's what happened today. Not even about Lane, just about wearing it and asking the question and the whole deal.
If you're the coach that gets off the bus wearing a suit, get off the bus wearing a suit. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Kiffin used to be the coach that got off the bus wearing a suit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he stopped, and he kind of found his own deal, and he likes that deal better. And he knows how to market.
Yeah.
And if you don't excel at those things, it's okay. Let people be who you are. We talked about Malzahn. Malzahn, to his credit, was always kind of who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Les Miles kind of finally
100%.
embraced, hey, I'm kind of goofy, and I'm just going to be goofy.
Saban doesn't fake personality.
No, that's who Nick is. I've dealt with Nick personally, and that's him. Yep.
Kirby screws it up a lot. Kirby tries to be Nick.
Kirby tries to be Nick, and Kirby's not Nick.
Yeah.
At all. There's a lot of that. Nick Saban's impact on this league is actually understated.
Yeah.
People just don't go there. Drinkwitz is a smart football coach. He's done a really good job. I think they're going to beat Mississippi State on Saturday and go 6-4. If you told Missouri fans before the season 6-4, they'd said, woo! Right? Yet he's doing this thing, and I don't. Hey, I've talked about you haven't talked about all the coaches. There's only one coach that Sam Pittman doesn't get asked about his shirt.
No,
because he just wears a polo with the hog on it.
It's one guy,
and he wears Pittman does the trash bag thing that Matt Luke used to do.
Yeah, bigger dudes. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
what it is.
But just wear the red thing with the white hog or the white.
Malzahn wasn't wearing shirts. Mark Stoops isn't wearing Stoops.
No,
it's Lane.
The only time that Gus stepped out of character was
Pat
to
Dye.
Honor which
Pat
was
Dye.
cool.
No, look, Drinkwitz has done a hell of a job. I just wonder about changing your deal and, frankly, how you're going to recruit. I mean, I always put a decent class together today, but
where are they in the rankings? Do you have rankings?
I can pull them up.
Pull them up, and we'll close with rankings. I'll finish my bill paying here. I have picks up tomorrow. Believe it or not, I can't believe tomorrow's Thursday. It's been the weirdest week. It's brought to you by the College Corner, your one-stop Rebel Shop, 2 locations in the Jackson area. In Ridgeland, it's next to Fleet Feet and Flowwood. It's next to Half Shell. If you don't live in Jackson, it's okay. Go to collegecornerstore.com. Visit them on Facebook and Instagram. Brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. We'll have a Mind on My Money tomorrow. It's brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pintrust.com, PINNtrust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fees. Every single week, I should say, I get a text from someone going, hey, who's your travel guy? Because people remember the ad. Podcast advertising works. Men don't remember specifically until it's time to go shop. John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated is our travel guy. Get in touch with him. There's a lot of great deals to be had right now in the travel business. Just give him some parameters and a budget. He'll give you options, and you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387 or send him an email at jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients save $50 off their first book trip just by telling him you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. We're also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, that's the place to go. It's grenadanissan.com. Oxford University Bank. Get in touch with the people at OUB at liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. And we're brought to you by Bain, Moss & Bowen, located in Corinth. It's a firm that practices a wide range of law, from DUI defense to car wrecks to representing government entities. Get in touch with them at 618 East Waldron Street in Corinth, or call them at 662-287-1620.
So yeah, good class from Mizzou, especially given where they usually are, better than their normal classes. They're at number 20 right now.
It's really good.
That's really good for Missouri. Ole Miss at 18 currently as we're doing this.
Where's Arkansas?
Arkansas is at 22.
And where's Mississippi State? You know where I'm going here with new coaches?
34. But the bigger deal, they have three. They only have 3 4-stars in their class, and one of those is, no offense, Antonio Harmon.
Yeah, who's, bless him, not a 4-star.
Yeah.
It's a rival's mistake, and
It's not Harmon's fault.
it's probably a mistake that would have been fixed if it was a normal year.
Also noticing in the state class, I know Ole Miss has got some, but they're going to knock most of these out by the time because they're going to get Taiwan Malone in February. I mean, I think if I was doing future cast, I would put him in. State has a ton of 5.5s, not just 3-stars, but 5.5s.
So compare that to the other three. I know we've already talked about Ole Misses a lot, but Missouri and Arkansas, what do they have mostly? 5.7s?
Let's look. State's got a ton of 5.5s. Let's see here real quick. We can do this pretty fast, I think. State only has 2 5.7s in their class. As quickly as possible. Arkansas, for them, pretty good class. They've got a ton of 5.5s. They have way too many, but they do at least have some 5.7s at the top of the thing.
They don't have a lot of 4-stars, though, in this class, right?
Like 2 or something.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah, 2. Only 2 4-stars for Arkansas.
I worry for his sake about his ability to
generate
enough top-level talent that you can fill in around it. I think he's a good coach, and I think they're going to develop well, but you've got to have some stars in this league.
Missouri, it's fine. They have 4 5.7s, and then they have a couple 5.4. They have let's see, what's the number? They have 5 4-stars, so they've got 9 of theirs is pretty good.
So that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I think
that's pretty solid. You can build with that.
Yeah, Missouri's got a pretty good class. I see no real issues with their class at all.
He's a good coach.
Also, what I'm noticing here too is Ole Miss, where they've been able to pull a couple guys, is they're the only one of those 4 schools that has anybody over a 5.8. So, they're the only ones that really pulled any national prospects out of those 4 schools. Because you had Hudson Wolf at a 6.0, and you've got Braylon Brown at a 5.9. So they're able to go in there and grab some nationally ranked kids for whatever. Taiwan Malone, obviously, is a 6.0 or 6 whatever his deal is as well. So, yeah, that's been the biggest difference. And it's what we thought. I mean, out of those 4 schools, Ole Miss does have a better chance of going in and taking top 100 kids in the country. So
yeah,
that's kind of the way it's playing out to this point. So Neal and Zach will have plenty with that here in a little while. Yeah, I mean, I think McLean's pretty highly rated too. I haven't looked to see what
he's a 4-star.
Yeah, so
and I don't know about Young. Is he 4.3? I don't know. I want to say he's a high 3.
Is he? Is it Byron or Brian?
I think it's Byron. Kid from Georgia.
He's a 5.7.
Yeah.
3-star, 5.7.
And McLean's a 4-star.
Okay. So plenty of that. Lane Kiffin in 23 minutes. We'll have coverage, I guess, at rebelgrove.com and whatever he says in a little bit. So appreciate Bo Wallace. Appreciate Ben Mintz. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Also, basketball, Ole Miss, Middle Tennessee tonight, by the way. Schuler brothers facing off one another. So anyway, talk to you tomorrow.